Hello and welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Erin Darling, and thanks for tuning in to the show where we give you the latest movie news and insight into what it all means. Joining me today, as always, we have AMC Editor-in-Chief, John Campea.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the show. Here we are in AMC Studio B. This is where we normally do the AMC Mailbag show. I've got my Spider-Man, drinking my delicious Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola, ladies and gentlemen. It's an inside joke around AMC.
You have the best collection of mugs and cups. Where do you get all of these things?
I have made up for a lack of a social life over the past 5 or 6 years by buying really cool mugs and cups. That is my life.
I love it. I wish I had something like that. As you all know, Star Wars Episode VII is heading to AMC theaters everywhere in 2015, and director of the new film, J.J. Abrams, was recently asked about the direction the new movie will be going, in which he replied with the following: "I remember reading a thing somewhere someone wrote about wanting the new film to feel real, to feel authentic. I remember how I felt when I was 11 years old and saw the first one. As much as a fairy tale as it was, it felt real, and to me that is exactly right. I would say we are working really hard to make a movie that feels as emotional and authentic and exciting as possible." So, John, what do you think about J.J. Abrams' statements?
I love what he's saying. I really do, especially when he starts talking about we're going for something that is emotional and authentic. Now, these are really weird-sounding terms, admittedly, when you're talking about Star Wars, a big space opera, right? But think about this for a second. Now, I go off all the time, and I get some people very angry. I mean, John, you're always trashing on the prequels. Yeah, I know I do. But let's talk just straight for a second here. When you watch the original Star Wars, there is something about Darth Vader. Now, this is just one example, right? Talking about the emotional aspect of it and the authenticity. That Darth Vader always just gave you, as a filmgoer, a sense of dread and fear. There was something ominous that just filled the theater when you were watching him, whether you were watching it back in the original days or watching it when it was re-released in theaters a number of years ago. There is just something so emotional and authentic about that villain and that screen presence. There was a hint of that with Darth Maul, but when you got into the other villain, when you look at the prequels, whether you're talking about the Emperor, no sense of dread, no sense of ominous, anything about that he ever brought, whether it was... I'm forgetting the general's name, the 8-armed robotic android general, whatever. There is nothing. Dooku was, hey man, that's Christopher Lee, man. He's cool, but you never see the villain. You never feel that ominous threat. And that is just indicative, I think, of the overall stuff about prequels compared to the originals, that there wasn't that real emotional element that ever felt real. There wasn't that authenticity. And I think I really like hearing JJ say that that's what he wants to go for. He wants to reestablish that back into the Star Wars universe. Now, just because he says he wants to go for it doesn't mean it's going to work. It doesn't mean he'll do it right. But at least we know, I believe, he's pointing us in the right direction. So I'm encouraged to hear JJ's words, actually.
I agree with you about what you said about the villains, though, because I think that the difference between Darth Maul and Darth Vader is Darth Vader's a villain, Darth Maul is a Halloween costume.
And, you know, Maul almost worked. I thought there were good... Maul was one of the best things about, I thought, the prequels. They let him go too soon. Anyway, I'm not going to go off. I'm not going to start bagging on the prequels again. I'm going to...
Fast and Furious 7 is racing into AMC theaters July 11, 2014, and production on the film is already underway. Yesterday, star of the franchise, Vin Diesel, posted the first picture showing us the characters from the film with the following description. "The first week of filming," Diesel writes, "has been both intense and surreal. P.S. One from set, a more somber moment in our saga." So, John, what do you think is happening in this somber picture Vin Diesel posted?
Everybody looks so serious. I'm Vin Diesel. Riddick isn't doing as well as I wanted it to. No, actually, Riddick is doing fine, apparently. I mean, obviously, and for those of you who haven't seen Fast 6, and let's face it, if you haven't watched Fast 6, you're not interested in it, you're not going to see it anyway. So, spoiler alert. But at the end of Fast 6, Han dies. So, I believe... it's fairly obvious that in this somber picture that we see of the guys, this is them probably at Han's funeral. I'm given away by the fact that they're at a beautiful green spot and they're all wearing their dark suits and things like that, unless there's another death in the movie. So I'm not really sure. I read on a chat board It might have been at Joe Blow, but somebody suggesting, hey, yeah, it's probably Han's thing. And somebody wrote, I guess Han shouldn't have gone solo.
Wow.
Yeah, I shouldn't have repeated that. But yeah, I mean, one of the things that I've liked about Fast and Furious, besides the fact that it's just big, boisterous fun and action and it's funny and things like that, and as much as I detest the first 3 Fast and Furious films, one of the things they've done effectively for me as an audience member in the last couple of films have really given me a sense that this is a family. And they stick together like a family, almost Sons of Anarchy-ish family. I mean, they're very tight, very loyal to each other and whatever. And the idea of one of their key players that has been in a lot of the films dying off, I got the sense of that tone and that sense of somberness that he's talking about in the picture. So, yeah, me personally, I really like the picture. All right, folks. Well, listen, we've come to that part of the show for, you know what? We're not going to do buy and sell today. Forget buy and sell. Let's just move on to the next topic. Let's just do it as normal. Go through.
All right. Well, our next topic is, after a long and successful production deal that has seen hit films like Armageddon, Con Air, The Rock, The Pirates of the Caribbean, and others, Walt Disney Studios and Jerry Bruckheimer have announced that they will not be renewing their first look contract when the current deal expires in 2014. Both Bruckheimer and Disney chairman Alan Horn released statements of mutual admiration when announcing the end of the agreement. One of the reasons being given is that Bruckheimer wants to produce more mature films. John, what do you think about this deal ending?
Yeah, it is very difficult to imagine a Jerry Bruckheimer film that isn't under the Disney banner. Mm-hmm. They have made, like, whatever you think of the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise right now, or Lone Ranger, or any of that kind of stuff, there is no denying that this partnership has made a lot of money together. They've put out some fun, wonderful films, amidst some of the bad ones as well, but they've put out some great, fun, memorable films. And like I said, they have made a lot of money together. Now, that being said, I'm going into speculation mode here, okay? None of what I'm about to say is based on fact. This is all just my speculation, okay? I don't believe that it is a coincidence that the timing of this announcement is coming on the heels of one of the biggest bombs
100%
of films and this studio's history, really, with The Lone Ranger. Not only did the film do incredibly badly, but I've never seen Jerry Bruckheimer get so defensive as well. Because we saw a couple of weeks ago, Bruckheimer took to, in interviews and whatever, putting out these statements that they were wronged, that critics were out to get them right from the beginning. Really, Jerry? Is that the critic? Listen, I happen to know a lot of the critics were going into it dying to love it. They wanted to love it. Now, I had problems with the film right from the beginning. I did not. I hate it. I said it publicly. I thought the casting of Johnny Depp in this iconic Native American role was insulting. I thought it was a terrible move, as much as I love Johnny Depp. But I still, when I went to go see the film, I wanted to love it. I never go into a movie that I know I have to waste 2 hours of my time in, hoping I have a bad time. I wanted to see something great, and the critics want to see movies they love. But it was a bad film. It just was. Now, my dad loved it. I know several people that really liked it. All film is subjective. More power to you if you did. But Jerry, you just got to swallow the pill and admit, we made a film that not a lot of people liked and not enough people went to go see, and we made some bad decisions, blowing the budget of this thing way sky high, and ultimately we lost the studio money, and it's nobody's fault but ours. And he didn't do that. Now, right on the heels of that, then we've got Pirates of the Caribbean 5 that was supposed to come out in 2015. Last week we talked about, or it might have been 2 weeks ago on this show, that now mysteriously Disney bumped Pirates of the Caribbean out of 2015 to an undisclosed release date. So probably in 2016. I cannot help but wonder if these two things are also connected. So yeah, I love the fact that both Disney, Alan Horn, Jerry Bruckheimer are dealing with this with a lot of class. They're putting out statements talking very positively about each other. That is the classy thing to do. Me personally, though, I'd be shocked to find out that it wasn't actually has something to do with Lone Ranger and the moving of pirates and things and the way things have gone lately. So that's just me. Aaron, you look at a situation like this. What do you think is really going on behind the scenes?
I thought the exact same thing that you just iterated. I believe that it's no coincidence that this is happening after The Lone Ranger, which was a box office bomb, so expensive, lost the studio tons of money, and I think pretty embarrassing for most of the people involved, just based on the way that they've handled this whole situation, how terrible it ended up coming out. And for one of the reasons to be that he wants to produce more adult films, I can understand that. But I also feel like Con Air and The Rock were pretty adult, in my opinion. And I don't know how edgy Bruckheimer wants to get. So I don't buy that as one of the most legitimate reasons behind making this split and not renewing this contract. So I think they'll both be fine. I think Disney's going to be fine. Bruckheimer's going to be fine. They're both super great. But at the same time, I think this has a lot to do with Lone Ranger.
Yeah, and I don't want to... I think I'm being guilty here of glossing over what their official reason being given is. You touched on it, right? The idea about Bruckheimer wants to do some more mature, serious films. You know, I don't doubt that. I don't doubt the validity of that statement for a second. I think, you know, when you made the types of films that Bruckheimer has been making for so long, that, hey, maybe he wants to do some gritty R-rated stuff, all that. I don't doubt that that is part of this completely. I completely believe that. I just also happen to believe that the timing is not coincidental with the bombing of Lone Ranger. So, anyway.
All right, on to our next story. The first poster for the upcoming new Jason Reitman film, Labor Day, has just hit the web. Labor Day centers on 13-year-old Henry Wheeler, who struggles to be the man of his house and care for his reclusive mother, Adele, who is played by Kate Winslet, while confronting all the pangs of adolescence. On a back-to-school shopping trip, Henry and his mother encounter Frank Chambers, played by Josh Brolin, a man both intimidating and clearly in need of help, who convinces them to take him into their home and later is revealed to be an escaped convict. The events of this long Labor Day weekend will shape them for the rest of their lives. Labor Day also stars Clark Gregg, James Van Der Beek, and Tobey Maguire. Canadian director Jason Reitman previously helmed such films as Thank You for Smoking, Up in the Air, Juno, and Young Adult. So, John, what do you think of this poster for Labor Day?
I got to tell you, I really like it. I like posters. I have to admit right now, a lot of people like to look for the artistic thing in a poster first. And I do too, but not first. I've said on this show before, I kind of like posters that in one still moment kind of communicates to me the emotion and the tone of a film. And when I look at this poster, I get that. I mean, I'm seeing Brolin's got his arm around her. First of all, Kate Winslet. I mean, all this girl does is crank out Oscar nomination performances, right? That's all she knows how to do. Oscar, 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 Oscar. Every year, Kate Winslet, Kate Winslet, Kate Winslet. But she's fabulous. This picture of his arm around her, there's almost an affection as well as a danger in it, which is kind of cool. We see that there's somebody standing outside of the front door behind the blurred glass. And for that reason, I really dig the poster. This sounds pretty cool. And look, I've been saying for a while now, I'm not a big fan of Josh Brolin, but what I've seen from Old Boy so far has me very curious. The way he's handled this whole not getting the Batman gig thing raised my respect level for him. And now I see something like this and I'm hearing about the story of this. I got to tell you, Brolin, be careful. You might make a fan out of me, man, because you're on a bit of a roll. So I like what I'm seeing. But Aaron, I want to ask you, I didn't prep you for this, but what do you think of the poster? Because I know you and I look for different things normally in posters. So I'm curious, what do you think when you look at this poster?
I actually like this poster.
Cool.
And I think something that really gets me excited about the poster is just the idea of the movie in general. I can't wait to see where this goes. I love the plot idea. I really like Josh Brolin. And I love Kate Winslet. But who doesn't really?
Who doesn't love Kate Winslet? I wonder
if there's a person, I think you guys, if anyone out there hates Kate Winslet, I want to read it in the comments.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how. I mean, you're certified to be insane if you don't. All right, folks, so listen, we've come to that part of the show for News Roundup. Now, look, there's a lot of other things going on in the world of movie news right now. We don't have time to go into them in detail, but we want to make sure you are kept up to date on what's happening. So this little segment is the News Roundup.
It's being reported that actor/comedian Adam Sandler is close to joining the film The Cobbler, being directed by the station agent director Todd McCarthy. Sandler is said to be taking the lead role of the film, who has the ability to metaphysically step into the lives of the people whose shoes he repairs. No word yet on a release date.
Guy Ritchie's new film, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., is already shooting in London, and our first look at Henry Cavill in the film has just hit the web. Cavill was most recently on the big screen as Superman in Man of Steel. Set against the backdrop of the early 1960s, at the height of the Cold War, The Man from U.N.C.L.E. centers on CIA agent Solo and KGB agent Kuryakin, I never pronounced that right, forced to put aside long-standing hostilities. The two team up on a joint mission to stop a mysterious international criminal organization which is bent on destabilizing the fragile balance of power throughout the proliferation of nuclear weapons and technology. The duo's only lead is the daughter of a vanished German scientist who is the key to infiltrating the criminal organization, and they must race against time to find him and prevent a worldwide catastrophe.
It's being reported that a deal is close to being struck to develop a biopic on the life of Tupac Shakur, simply to be titled Tupac. Tupac centers on the life of the charismatic yet controversial artist, rapper, poet, actor, and political activist Tupac, who shot to fame with Tupacalypse Now, praised for its seminal underground vibe and still an inspiration for major artists today.
The new Marvel film Thor: The Dark World opens in AMC theaters everywhere on November 8th, and now Marvel Studios have released 2 new character posters from the film centered on Lady Sif and Jane. Thor: The Dark World continues the big screen adventures of Thor, the mighty Avenger, as he battles to save Earth and all the 9 realms from a shadowy enemy that predates the universe itself. In the aftermath of Marvel's Thor and Marvel's The Avengers, Thor fights to restore order across the cosmos, but an ancient race led by the vengeful Malekith returns to plunge the universe back into darkness.
Are you one of those people who are really looking forward to the new RoboCop remake, but you just wish you could see him on an even bigger screen?
Yes!
Well then, I've got some good news for you. Yesterday, IMAX, along with MGM and Sony Pictures, announced that RoboCop will be digitally remastered into the IMAX format and released into IMAX theaters worldwide beginning February 7th. No official word yet on how long the IMAX run will be, but we'll let you know as soon as details emerge.
Now, not only is she one of the best actresses in the world, but now she's going to be probably one of the best directors in the world too. It's being reported that Academy Award-winning actress Cate Blanchett is about to helm her first feature film with The Diner, or The Dinner, or whatever. It's a summer evening in Amsterdam, and 2 couples meet at a fashionable restaurant for dinner. Between mouthfuls of food and over the polite scrapings of cutlery, the conversation remains a gentle hum of polite disclosures, or of polite discourse. The banality of work, the triviality of the holidays, but behind the empty words, terrible things need to be said, and with every forced smile and every new course, the knives are being sharpened. Each couple has a 15-year-old son. The 2 boys are united by their accountability for a single horrific act, an act that is triggered by a police investigation and shattered the comfortable, insulated worlds of their families. As the dinner reaches its culinary climax, the conversation finally touches on their children. As civility and friendship disintegrate, each couple show just how far they are prepared to go to protect those they love. No word yet on The Dinner or when it will hit AMC.
Wow, that sounds incredibly exciting. It's being reported that New Line is about to appoint Ted Melfi as both the writer and director of their upcoming remake of the 1979 film Going in Style. The original movie starred George Burns, Art Carney, and Lee Strasberg as a trio of senior citizens who decide to rob a bank and take their winnings to Las Vegas.
Kristen Chenoweth has just joined the cast of the upcoming film The Boy Next Door and will star as the best friend of the lead character played by Jennifer Lopez. The Boy Next Door stars Lopez as a recently separated mother who finds trouble on the horizon when she begins a sexual relationship with a teenage neighbor. And that will do it for your news roundup. Hey, listen, folks, before we get into mailbag, we got a couple of quick announcements here that we want to make. First of all, our AMC Mailbag show is happening, of course, this weekend on Saturday and Sunday. And tomorrow on Saturday at 10 a.m. Los Angeles time, please don't ask me what time that is in your time zone. Look it up yourself. At 10 a.m. Los Angeles time, John Schnepp and I are going to be doing the Mailbag live. So come on over to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/AMC Theaters at 10 a.m. Los Angeles time, and we will be streaming the show live. We'll have the chat boards open so you can jump in and talk with us as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you join us. Also, we were just talking about Thor: The Dark World. This, to me, is exciting because I love these events. On Tuesday morning, this coming Tuesday, tickets will go on sale for our Thor Marathon at AMC Theaters. Will be on November the 7th, starting at 2:30 in the afternoon. The 3 films will be Thor, The Avengers, and then the premiere at 8:30 in the evening of Thor: The Dark World. Tickets, I believe, are going to be $25. That gets you into all 3 films, plus it gets you a collector's lanyard, plus it gets you a one-sheet poster. We're going to put a link in the description of this video so you can get all the details and the specifics about that screening and which theaters you can find this in. Once again, those tickets go on sale on Tuesday morning. Check the description for the link to get all your information, and I will see you in Asgard, my friends. All right, it is that time of the show for Mailbag. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question you would like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Now, every single day we pull a couple of questions out of the mailbag. Right now, Aaron's got a few of the messages pulled out. So, Aaron, what do we got?
MPG writes in to say hello. With the rumor that Katie Sackhoff has been in talks about playing Ms. Marvel / Captain Marvel, plus Marvel confirmed in an interview that Ms. Marvel's script is being completed and ready. And there have been at least 2 times after these folks at Marvel have said that they're looking at Ms. Marvel. With Ant-Man being pushed up and the new winter slot now open, do you think Ms. Marvel / Captain Marvel could take its place? If it does, then does that mean that Ms. Marvel will have a movie out before DC has a Wonder Woman movie out? How would Warner Brothers do then? Put a Wonder Woman movie in the works, or wait and see how Ms. Marvel does?
Excellent question, my friend. Excellent question. All right, first of all, let me start on a little bit of a rabbit trail. Let's talk for a second about Katie Sackhoff. I love this girl.
I do too.
Love her so much, and I love her completely based on one thing and one thing only, and that, of course, is Battlestar Galactica. And Katie in Battlestar Galactica will forever be my ultimate justification. Now, I say this all the time, and people erroneously try to argue with me about it. I say, you know what? All that really matters is get the core essential elements of a character. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter about their hair color. Doesn't matter what color their eyes are. Doesn't matter if they're a little bit heavier, a little bit more muscular, a little bit lighter. It doesn't matter if they're black or if they're white, or it doesn't matter if they're men or if they're women. Say this all the time, okay? Now, this is a great example of that, as long as you get the key essential elements to who that character is. And when it was announced that this new Battlestar Galactica movie was coming out, and they had a woman, of all things, playing Starbuck, a lot of people were agog and aghast. You know, has Marius found true love at last? Anyway, that's a Les Mis thing. But people were just outraged. How can it be a woman? And I thought about it for a second, saying, wait a minute. When you really think about the core key elements to who the person of Starbuck is, making her a woman could be pretty darn cool, because you could fit all those key essential elements into a female character. And did it work? Damn right it worked. Best television series in the history of television, in my opinion, anyway. So, I mean, there's the thing about her. Now, let's get on to the last part of your question now. You bring up, if they did a Miss Marvel / Captain Marvel, and why they named it Captain Marvel when DC has a Captain Marvel is completely beyond me. So I'm going to call her Miss Marvel. I don't care what the purists say. So you got a Miss Marvel. If they did a Miss Marvel character, I'm going to tell you right now, DC would love it. DC would love it if Marvel did a Miss Marvel movie, because it gives them exactly what they want. It gives them a litmus test. It allows DC to sit back, because you know they want to do Wonder Woman. They're just not sure if they can make it and make it work. So they're going to sit back and say, okay, let's let Marvel roll the dice. And let's see how the public reacts to a female lead superhero film. And the moment that thing cracks $200 million, you can bet within 2 hours, Disney or DC will have a press release out saying we're going into production on Wonder Woman. And if the movie doesn't make money, then you'll probably see DC wait. I absolutely think DC would love it. Now, let's get to the question of, are they going to do it? I don't believe they are. Yes, there is a working script in place, but they've got about 500 working scripts, so that doesn't really mean anything. They have been talking to Katie, but nothing has come out that officially said they've been talking to Katie about Miss Marvel. Mm-hmm. And even if they did, yes, they just moved Ant-Man off the date it had. I don't know that they're ready to announce a whole new character to rush into that date. I mean, we already know films that are supposed to come after that, and they're working on those. Are they really in a position that they're going to jump ahead now, make a new property altogether, and scrunch it into that release date? It's possible. It's absolutely possible. I just think unlikely. So in summary, I think DC would love for them to do it. I just don't know that they are going to do it right now. I'd be interested if they were. Aaron, you look at a story like this. How do you think this is all going to shape up?
I honestly don't think it's going to happen. I love Katie Sackhoff. I would love to see her in that role. I'd love to see more of her in general. But at the same time, I really don't think just because the Ant-Man release date was changed that they are ready to go into production, which is essentially what would need to happen on a completely different project at this point. So maybe in the future we could see something like this, but I think definitely it's not on the horizon within the next 2 to 3 years.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. All right. Our next question is coming from Daniel Taylor, who writes in and says, "Hello, AMC Movie Talk. I have a kind of long question, so I'll just get right into it. Do you think filmmakers have a responsibility to be as accurate as possible when making films based on true or historical events? Should films like Inglorious Basterds have some sort of disclaimer at the end for anyone that might not know their history too well? Should they be required to remove that based on the true story tagline if the story is altered too drastically?"
That's a great question. And I'll be honest with you, from year to year, my opinion on this question probably changes from year to year a little bit. Probably a little bit. But I'm going to tell you what my general feeling on this is this. Remember how I said that if you've got a character, like a comic book character or a character from other work of fiction that you're bringing into a movie, just make sure you get the key essential elements. Get the key essential elements, and then the rest, change their sex, change their hair color, whatever. I'm cool with it. That's fine. I kind of have the same philosophy when it comes to inspired by or based on true story movies. Get the key things right. And then if you get the key things right, take liberties. Look, the first and foremost responsibility of a studio in making a film based on a true story is not to get it historically accurate and not to give us a good history lesson. It's to give us a good movie. That is their first responsibility. And if they need to take some liberties with based on a true story to give us a better movie, then by all means. But if you're going to do Lincoln, don't say that Darth Vader came down and killed Abraham Lincoln when he was in the opera house.
Wait.
Wait a minute. Are you saying he didn't?
Are you saying Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunters wasn't real?
Look, I'm not here to burst your bubble, okay? That is not my job here. I'm simply saying make sure you get the key important things right. And if you do, then I'm okay personally. Now, at the same time that I'm saying that, I'm not going to, take away anybody's right to think that these types of movies should be completely historical. If that's the way you feel, if you feel that, if you're going to make a movie based on Jimi Hendrix, if you're going to make a movie based on Tupac, or if you're going to make a movie based on 9/11, or if you're going to make a movie based on this, that they should be absolutely 100% historically accurate, I can't hold that against you because I can't say that you're wrong for feeling that way. I just know for me personally, I believe the first and foremost responsibility, make a great movie. If you've got to change aspects of the story to do it, do it. Because we as audience members shouldn't be so stupid as to think that a Universal Pictures movie can take the place of a real historical textbook. If you want to know your history, go to school, learn history. There's lots of places to get the real information. Don't make the movie theater your education place. But yeah, there's some responsibility there. Get the key things right. Be flexible with others. Like I said, that's just how I feel. I'm sure a lot of you have a different opinion on that. Aaron, how do you feel when you hear based on a true story, inspired by a true story? Do you think there's a responsibility there to get it completely accurate?
Absolutely not. And this is why. I think that filmmakers outside of documentary filmmakers are not educators. Mm-hmm. They are artists. They are creative people.
I'm so glad you made that distinction, too, between documentary, because I didn't, and I'm really glad you did. That's a really important distinction.
But if you're not making a documentary, if you're not telling a story that's based on actual true events, and you're not a screenwriter, there's always an element of fiction that goes into creating arts like this. And I think that for people to assume that everything that you see in a movie, a piece of fiction, is true is stupid. And I think that you have to go into the movie viewing experience knowing that this is made to entertain you. And if you go into the experience expecting all true truth and fact and everything like that. It's just kind of an irresponsible way to look at a movie, especially like Inglorious Basterds. If there was a disclaimer before or after that telling people that this really didn't happen,
it's like, wait a minute, I thought Hitler died in a bunker. Brad Pitt killed, great.
It just frustrates me.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I think you're right. I think there is a bit of responsibility on the viewer.
I think there's a lot of responsibility on the viewer.
I agree with you.
Mm-hmm. But great question, though.
Excellent question.
Our next question comes from Ollie Owen, who writes in and says, "Hello all, love the show. My question is, as we all know, there will be a Fantastic Four reboot, but I was wondering, will there be an animated, will things be an animated
thing? Will the thing? That's how it should read. I know it reads weird, doesn't it? Will the thing be animated?
Will the thing be animated in the new one? Or do you think that they'll keep him the same? Thank you, and keep up with the good work."
So they are making a remake, or not they're rebooting Fantastic Four. We all know this is coming in 2015. I'm excited about it. It's because it's being directed by Josh Trank, who directed the amazing film Chronicle, which if you didn't see it a couple years ago, you should. It's wonderful. Dane DeHaan. The big question, though, is how are they going to do the thing? Is the thing going to be, and don't get me wrong, I liked Michael Chiklis as Thing. Almost everything else about Fantastic Four I hated, but I thought Michael Chiklis's The Thing was pretty good, actually, all things considered. But this is one of those situations where I'm going to have to disagree with a lot of people, those people who say practical effects are always better. No, they're not. Sometimes they're better. Absolutely. Sometimes practical effects are the best way to go. But sometimes CGI is the best way to go. Could you imagine if the Hulk in the Avengers was actually Lou Ferrigno in green body paint and torn jeans going, "Argh!" Could you imagine how lame that would have been? And I think, look, while all due respect, they did a really good job. If you're going to make the decision to do practical effects for the thing, they did a pretty darn good job with it. But a CGI thing, like we've seen with the Hulk, would have been vastly, vastly superior. And I hope that moving forward with the new Fantastic Four, I really hope they go CGI thing. Because, to be honest, I was a little underwhelmed with what the thing should have been. And definitely, CGI for Thing is the way to go, in my opinion. Aaron, you're in charge of Fox. You have a decision to make. Are you going to make Thing a costume, or are you going to make him CGI?
I think that technology has come a very long way. And if you're not interested in seeing a version of this character that would benefit from technology, then just read the comics. So I really think that with performance capture, motion capture, CGI, they can definitely do a great job with the thing. And I hope that they do utilize the technology that we have now that has actually even improved since the first Fantastic Four.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, why wouldn't they?
Yeah, I agree. Why not? All right, folks, listen, that runs out of our time for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Listen, if you haven't done so yet, do us a favor, take a second and click on that subscribe button. Become a subscriber to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. Keep you up to date on everything going on in the world of movie news. And, of course, our daily AMC Movie Talk show and our weekend mailbag show. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. on youtube.com/AMC Theaters. We'll be doing the mailbag live. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Facebook. I want to thank, as always, first of all, our lovely host today, Miss Erin Darling. Erin, where can people find you online?
Facebook, Erin Darling fan page, Twitter, Erin A. Darling, and YouTube, Erin Ashley D. Thank you so much for watching today.
And you can find me on Facebook at John Campia AMC or on Twitter at John Campia. Listen, folks, lots of great movies playing in AMC theaters right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for your theater, showtime, and, of course, movie ticket information. So until next time, my name is John Campia for AMC Movie News, and until then, bye-bye.